Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon or good evening depending on when and where you're watching this, and welcome back to the Knit Crochet Read Repeat podcast channel. My name is Kirby, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm coming to you from Paisley, which is just a stone's throw away from Glasgow in Scotland. So normally at that point I would interject and see what the weather is doing, but the weather doesn't know what it's doing today. We have had downpours. It is so cold it could snow. And now we have glorious sunshine with partial blue skies. So, welcome to Scotland. This is going to be a very crochet heavy podcast. I will hopefully only mention it once, but I am having a lot of problems with my hands at the moment between carpal tunnel and just random pains. It would seem, for the most part, I am able to crochet more than any other craft at the moment. So this is a very heavy crochet episode. That being said, there is some knitting. 2 knitting projects. Yeah, I think 2 knitting projects. And the first thing I'm going to get out of the way, because I don't know if I've mentioned it in a podcast or only in the Monday vlogs, is this beautiful shawl that I done, which used up 3 and a bit balls of iron weight yarn. All the details on this are in a Monday vlog, and if I find out which one, I will link it in this corner or this corner. But this is a really lovely, simple granny stitch shawl. I wanted something that was super mindless, that I could work whilst watching, I think we were playing a video game or catching up on something on Netflix, but I like having something that I can be quite mindless about, and I really struggle with crocheting and not looking. So I can knit and not look at anything, like not look at the work really easily, but I can't do that with crochet. So stuff like a granny stitch works really, really well. So the yarn for this is lovely. It's a very mishmash colour. It's once you get kind of like up close to it that you can see. Are we going to focus? There we go. Once you're up close, you can see all the different colours, but when you pull back and look at it, it's really difficult to kind of decide what colour this is. So for now, I think I'm going to put this away and gift this to someone, maybe like from September onwards. I do, even though it's really cold and it is snowing in parts of Scotland, we're hoping that the weather will get warmer again. So that'll get popped away for somebody. I don't have any other finished objects. Everything else is slow works in progress. So I guess we'll just start from somewhere. I got a lot of ball bands in this bag because I was cleaning off my desk. But this is the Battenberg blanket squares I've been making with the sheepies, cotton. This is the Katona cotton. Oh, come on. There we go. Maybe. Oh, it doesn't know what it wants to focus on. And these are 10-gram balls of cotton. And in February, I know we're in March, I haven't made any of these in March, but in February, 6, 8, 10, this is going to get really difficult, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I got 23, oh, I'm going to lose ball bands. I got 23 squares done. Have a random. So I got 23 of these made. Are we going to focus on them? Yeah, well done, camera. So I think that's a really good number, considering these were only getting made when I was in like meetings and stuff. Goes to show just how many meetings I had. So I need to select the next load of minis and pop them in the project bag and take them back upstairs. But I'm really happy with that, considering that's 10 grams a pop. That's 230 grams of yarn kind of out of my stash. Like, it still obviously needs to get made into blankets. So I'm going to leave those out. I'm going to put the hook back in the bag. And I'm going to set the bag aside. And then we'll move on to the next one. Next up is the Lost in Time shawl. This has been put into a slight timeout because I have made a mistake somewhere. And I need to figure out how to fix it. But the last time you saw this on a podcast, I was here. We've got a stitch marker just here. So just here is where you last saw it. And so I've got this much more done. So it's not a huge amount. I'd say maybe 15 more rows done on this. Is the camera focusing? No. There we go. So 15 more rows I actually think is quite good for this project, because once you get to a certain size, it's not quite my wingspan, but that's still a really good size. Once you get to a certain point, the rows are very long and they take a while to complete, especially the rows where you're doing a lot of the double crochets. Or if you're talking UK terms, I think that's a treble. But I do think this is really, like, even just folded up, like, look how stunning that patterning is. So I do need to rip back and figure out how I can fix my mistake. It's just something really silly. I've either not put in a V-stitch, or I've put in too many. That's literally it. So I either need to take one out, which I'll probably do, or I need to put in an extra one somewhere. But looking, I've done everything right for the V-stitches, so I must have made a mistake somewhere else, which is entirely possible. I took this out to Costa one day when Scott had an optometrist appointment, and I found it really noisy and it really overwhelmed me. Even though I had my AirPods and was listening to an audiobook, it was still just too much for me. I know next time to take my noise cancelling headphones and drown out all the noise, or just not go to Costa. I love Costa. That's not a slate at Costa, but the one in Braehead Shopping Centre on a Saturday morning was mobbed. So everything I talk about, I'm lucky if I remember the name of the pattern. I'm a terrible podcaster. I don't know why you all watch me. But when I do remember the name of the pattern, I definitely will not remember the name of the designer, apart from one of my projects. So if you're looking for all the information, I am trying my best to link all the patterns down below in the description. If you don't know where that is, you just need to go under the video. It will give you the title of the video. I think it tells you like when it was uploaded and stuff, and then you should see a see more, and then you just click on that and it will extend the description box. So that is the Lost in Time shawl. Really am enjoying this, but again, once you get to a certain point, the rows just take a really long time, and I'm preferring like DK weight projects compared to 4-ply projects at the moment. And this is a 4-ply project, so not getting priority work done on it at the moment. Let's stick with crochet. And I had been wanting to pick up a project that was fairly mindless. As I mentioned with the granny stitch shawl at the beginning, I sometimes need like a really mindless project I can work on and be able to watch video games or the latest episode of the WWE or whatever we're maybe watching on YouTube or Netflix or Disney, etc, etc, etc. And with crochet being my go-to at the moment, I didn't feel like any of my projects that I had were mindless or I could feel so like more granny stitch projects. So I decided to grab, it's behind the camera at the moment, but it's like a really big vacuum pack bag filled with odds and ends of DK weight acrylic yarn. And I have way more acrylic upstairs, but it's full balls, and some of these are either full balls without a ball band or partially used, like maybe just for a couple of stitches, maybe just a couple of grams, or they were, say, I think, I don't know why I'm looking over there. So I got, I'll show more detail, but I've got two squares here where I know one of them weighs, I'd say both of them, like, call it 10 grams each. So I had like 20 grams of this colour, and then I maybe had like 30 grams of another. So some are very, very small amounts, some are much, much larger amounts. And I grabbed this bag of yarn with the intention of just making granny squares. Not a big granny square, but just little small ones that I could then eventually put together into random blankets that I would either donate or give away. Because I have this idea in my head I just can't shift right now, and so I'm kind of working towards like a 2-for-1, using up yarn and working towards this goal or this idea that I have. And then, even though I wasn't able to attend the craft group on a Tuesday night, I haven't attended now for 2 weeks, not for any like negative reason on the group, just I had a family thing, and then I had what people call tattoo flu. If you get a new tattoo, sometimes you have like a massive crash afterwards, and that's what I had Tuesday just gone. But the Tuesday before that, they were making the wildflower square, I think that's what it's called, and I wasn't there to try it out, but I was really curious about it and I thought it looked really, really pretty. So I grabbed some of this scrap yarn and I made one of those squares. So you can find the pattern for this, and I feel like there's just so many different people doing this one square. I've got the pattern that goes by, I think it's Wind in the Willows. Again, I will link down below. But for the most part, these squares are about 8 to 10 grams of yarn. I have some DK weight yarn here where it's considerably thicker than most DK yarns, and this is coming in about 11 or 12 grams. So it's really interesting to see all these DK weight yarns that are so different. So I've been a little bit busy. Some of them are the wildflower or the Wind in the Willows squares. Other ones are just simple granny squares where I am changing direction on every row. These are coming in at about 10 grams. So this one came in at 8 and then this one came in at 10 grams. So there is a difference in how much yarn I'm using up. And for where I can, I'm trying to make at least one of each colour. And then where I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of it, I've got, say, 2 of the wildflower squares, 1 7 round granny square, but then I've ran out of yarn and I've only got 5 rounds on this granny square. So for the most part, I'm trying to get them all to the same size. Oh, hiccup. But in situations like this, where I run out of yarn and don't realise I'm going to run out of yarn, I'm just going to try and now get to a 5 square, like a 5 round granny stitch square. And I don't know if I'm going to keep that up, to be honest. Like, I'm happy with the size I'm getting out of these. They're able to be blocked to the same size. As you can see, I've got quite a few on there. These are literally just being stretched out. I haven't steamed them. I haven't wet blocked them. Steaming is the best for acrylic, in my opinion. I've found the best results with steaming. Wet blocking doesn't really do much because it's acrylic. So I haven't steam blocked these. I don't know if I'll bother, but I'm going to need to get these ones off and get my next load of ones on, because I've got quite a few going on at the moment. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9 different colours so far. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32. I've got 33, and I have my 34th on the go at the moment. And I just plan on making a bunch of these. And then again, like I said, eventually putting them together as however I feel. And then either donating them or giving them away, because I just needed something mindless, something that didn't need a pattern. Technically the wildflower one needs a pattern, but I've now sadly got that memorized. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm doing them on a 4mm crochet hook, which is a size G, and I'm using my favourite Clover crochet hook, but I really need to look into one that's slightly more ergonomic, and my production of these might slow down a little bit just whilst I'm healing. But I'm really enjoying them. They are using up a good amount of my scraps. I'm curious to weigh them all and see, but each one is different. Like, again, so this one came in at 12 grams, so that's the granny square, but this one came in at 10, so it's never really the same when the yarn's either slightly thicker or slightly thinner. So really curious to see how much this uses up. I didn't weigh the yarn separately beforehand, so I am going to have to weigh the squares after the fact. But I am going to try and sit down and weigh and photograph the next bunch of yarn I have, so that I've got a better knowledge base as to how much yarn I'm using up this year. Because again, this is the year that I want to do a big stash down and use up some of my yarn, which is another reason I'm doing this project. So yeah, that's my main crochet project at the moment, because we've just started the new Resident Evil game, and so I need something to keep my hands busy, and this is one of the easiest things I can do. And also, if I get a little bit scared, because I am a complete wimp, I am an absolute wimp. I don't do horror things or suspense very well, and I've done okay with the other Resident Evil games, but this one is already kind of like the suspense of it is kind of made me kind of go. So it's also really good to have, especially like the wildflower one, where I do look down every now and again just to check I'm putting the stitch into the right area. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. To me, this is incredibly mindless, and I'm using up so much yarn. The next scrappy project I have, we'll stick with crochet again, is my small squares. And technically this one would be really good for when we're doing the video games or watching stuff on the TV, but sorry, I was trying to decide which ones did I just do. I think it was this bunch. I'd set myself a promise that every time I got a batch done, and this is a batch, I would sit and weave in all the ends. And I definitely brought this up on a very recent Monday vlog. And sorry if you're re-listening to the whole thing, but when I tried to sew in some of the ends, because I got 2 done. I got the ends woven in on 2 squares. It doesn't look like it because this is the knot in the yarn, but I got 2 squares, the ends woven in. Maybe 3? No, definitely only 2. And then my hand went into a massive amount of pain, and it would seem that anything where the grip is really, really petite, really small, I was really, really struggling with the grip and pain kind of going down my thumb, where I recently just recovered from the Quervins, and then the wrist where my carpal tunnel is. So I did get a batch done. Really, really happy with them. You'll see, like, what I mean by a batch is that the center color is all different on each square. But then in a batch, those different colors all get one color on the outside. So we got pink, gold, red, green, blue, bright orange, like, you get the point. But the one batch all gets the same outside color, just like this batch here, which has all been very tightly squeezed onto a needle holder. So this one batch has all the colors, all the different colors on the inside here, and then all the one external color. So I have 2 batches done, but really only one fully complete. This one needs the ends woven in once my hand is a bit better. And then I just need to be able to do that with all these other batches, because they're all singled out. They're all put into their own half batches. And some are on needle holders. Some are just held together on a bit of yarn. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I have 20 more batches to go. So I have 20 more colors. I've only got 2 in this box, and then I have a whole other box up on my unit with all the other colors, and then these are the 2 that I have done. So no doubt these will now go into these squares. I'm just giving myself a big massive loop of work, and I'm okay with that actually. It's using up a bunch of stuff. So that's my last crochet project. So, oh, let's put my batch back in, or my batches. So we'll move on to the knitting. And again, some of these have been shown off on the Monday vlogs, but I have been slowly chipping away at making some squares for the Radvent blanket. I started with this really lovely orange one, and I've got my finishing colour. This took me a long time to figure out. I didn't take any notes when I originally started this project in 2024 about my needle size or how the heck I bound off, because apparently I have twisted all my stitches in the bind off. And on the original blanket, the bind off is incredibly stretchy. And I first tried to knit the actual square on 3 different needle sizes before I just went, screw it, good enough. And then I think I bound this square off at least 6 different times before again I was like, screw it, good enough. So for future me, we are working on a 3mm needle for the main square. We are then going up to a 3.5mm needle for the bind off, and we are binding off in the usual bind off fashion, but done through the back loop, because I don't know what the heck I done on my original squares. I don't know if my mere number of brain cells just walked out the door that day, or I found a random bind off that I just cannot find again. But this is good enough. It is fairly stretchy, and it's almost to the same stretch point as the original squares, so it's good enough. This isn't going to anyone. This is a blanket for the house, and so it's just me that's going to be judging it because Scott doesn't care. This was the second square. I really love how this is worked up. Come on, camera. There we go. And again, I think I bound off much looser on this one, so the bind off is much better. These all do need blocked. And then we went to this beauty. Come on, camera. There we go. Like, how gorgeous is that yarn worked up? And again, fairly stretchy bind off. And then this one was just finished today. And I really like how this is worked up as well. So that's 4 squares done for the Radvent. And I think in this bag I have 20 mini skeins. I'm not going to count them all, but I think I've got 20 mini skeins in this bag. If it's not 20, it's 16. It's 20 or it's 16. I'm not 100% sure, but eventually I will work through this and I will get my squares done. And whenever I have done a square, this yarn then becomes available to go into my Coziest Memories blanket. And then once it's been used in that, it then gets to go into the super secret blanket project, which hasn't been touched in quite a while. So I guess I will leave this out. And yeah, pretty happy that I've got 4 done. My last knitting project is the Coziest Memories blanket. And I did get the first of the Radvent squares into this. So that is in here. But my squares for this week are not done yet. So I'm going to leave this project out, and I'm going to put my 2 squares in for this week. So I'm recording on Friday. So it's been quite a while since Monday. there's no Monday vlog this week. There was no Whip Wednesday this week. I have been off on annual leave and I have honestly just done nothing. Apart from go get a new tattoo, I haven't done anything this week. I've done some crafting, but not a lot. So the squares for this week are not in. But the last time you saw this on the podcast, I had got up to here. But if you've watched the Monday vlogs, you'll have seen all these squares. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11 new squares since you last saw this. Again, so from the green. And then these 4. And again, just a reminder, I picked this project up again in January from here. So this was the first square I started this year, and I've put in a full 2 rows. Doesn't look like it because you gotta look at it that way. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this project out. I'm gonna get my 2 squares done for this week, and then I'm going to move back to my crochet because I find that much easier at the moment. But yeah, I'm trying to calculate and keep on top of how much yarn I've used up this year so far, but I'm not really sure how to record that information, especially like had I been really on the ball, I would have done it per month. But I'm not on the ball, and I think it's also really difficult to do that if projects are continuing over multiple months. So for example, I started my toaster in January when I was at the end of my healing for the Dequervins, and I will know at the end of that project how much yarn it has taken. So that's an easy enough one to do if I'm doing it per project. But then if I'm doing the likes of the Battenberg squares, these all get put into a box that already had finished squares in it from last year and maybe the year before that. And so at this point, I'm just keeping a total of how many I made per month. So I got 11 done in January, 23 done in February, and so far none done in March. And so that's how I'm totaling that one. And then for, where are they? Oh, I put them in the bag. The Radvent squares, I just chucked 4 squares into my scales and 4 squares came to 50 grams. So that's how I've kind of done that project. This one, I have no idea how I'm going to keep a tally of this one, because I'm pretty sure I started this before January. I'm not entirely sure. Again, this is where it really sucks that I don't write projects down. I don't put anything on Ravelry, and I really want to start. Like, I want to record the blanket I made for my dad. That was 6 giant balls of yarn that I used up for that one, and then the shawl was 3 and a bit balls of yarn. So I really want to be able to look back at the end of the year, and maybe if it's similar to like your stash on Ravelry, if you can export your projects for the year, then I can maybe look back and be like, okay, this is how much yarn these projects used. So if anyone has any hints or tips as to how you record how much yarn you're using, that would be really great. Please pop that information down in the comments and I will happily read every single option and I will take every single advice on board, because I really want to see how much I actually use up this year. I know, I've just realised there's a whole project I haven't shown off. I know I'm not going to maybe get as much done as I normally would because of my hands and just general chronic illness and fatigue. But knowing I'm not working at my highest capacity, I think it would be even more interesting to find out how much yarn I'm using. So yeah, if you've got any hints or tips or just how you record your yarn usage, please let me know, because I think I really shot myself in the foot with how I recorded my stash on Ravelry, because at some points I bundled yarn together. And so unless I had specifically weighed everything separate, because like some of the sock yarn I weighed separately but put together as one listing, I think unless I've done that, I really shot myself in the foot by just bundling yarn together. And unless I use every single drop of every single one of those yarns in the bundle, it's going to be really hard to tell how much I've used. Unless I just weigh the project at the end, which I am doing. Okay, project I forgot to talk about. I have been working really hard on the blanket I hope to become a fundraiser. So the way I can tell where I last was when I picked this up after my last podcast. I had to join in more yarn. So if we run our hands to the end of the row, so from, oh, it really sucks when you get fringe, but from about here all the way up, that's how much I've got done. This time I promise I'll put in a stitch marker. Unless I did put one in on the front. Don't see one. No, I didn't put one in on the front. So this time I promise I'll put in a stitch marker. This was meant to get a lot of love on it this week, and it didn't. So if I could redo my whole annual leave week over, there would be a lot I would do differently. So with that, I'm going to call it quits. Hopefully there'll be more videos from me coming up soon. I want to talk about some books I have recently acquired. I want to talk about some books I have been listening to. I have just been like so into audiobooks right now. I think I've gone through 9 or 10 audiobooks in about 14 days. So hopefully I'll do a video on that, maybe. And then I'm going to be doing a spend less challenge. So I'm not going on a spending ban. I'm just going on a spend less challenge. And I feel if I record that, I will be more likely to keep myself accountable. Hopefully. I really want to get my debt down. I really want to get my savings up. And I've also come to the realization that I have enough. I have more than enough. I have a lot of books that I am working through. You might be able to tell, even though how the camera is recording, that some books are turned around. These are all the ones I have listened to or read. And so when I turn them around, I know which ones I need to work through. Having recorded my stash this year on Ravelry, or last year, sorry, I know how much yarn I have. I don't need more. And I have enough magazines, enough books. I have enough jigsaw puzzles, even though I got 2 new ones today. I did get 3 out the door though. I donated 3 to the charity shop. So I have enough. I don't need more clothes. I don't need more shoes. Excuse me. Don't need more yarn. Don't need more books. So I'm hoping by having that, I'm not going to say epiphany, because that sounds stupid, but that eye-opening realization and really kind of seeing that capitalism is literally screwing everyone over and putting people into so much debt. I want to change that for myself. And so I'm going to go on a spend less challenge. So I just need to figure out my rules, like my parameters for that. But if anyone's curious, there is a book by, I want to say Kate, C-A-I-T. Oh, the surname starts with an F. I'll put the text on screen, but it's like spend less, I think. Look at me being so informative. I'll put the information on the screen down round about here, the name of the book. And it was just really eye-opening that this woman was able to pay off so much debt within a year, and just realise how much stuff she had. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people having stuff. Like, I feel like I am a queen of trinkets. You just have to see everything on my shelves. I love little knickknacks. But when you look at how many books I have and how few of them I've read, how much yarn I have and how much I'm not able to craft as much, it's eye-opening. It is eye-opening. So there might be some videos on that, and then hopefully I will figure out how I'm recording my yarn usage, and I will do an update as to how much yarn I've been using. I'll try and maybe aim for that for the end of March, for like quarters, for like the year, so 3 months. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for putting up with the fact there was no Monday vlog this week. There was no Whip Wednesday. I just needed to not do anything this week. To be completely honest, I've done minimal housework, although I've been trying really hard to get my laundry pile down. I went and got a tattoo, which I'll show off when it's healed. And I've got through so many audiobooks, which is fantastic. Okay, I have to go tidy up now. I've made a mess of the sofa, but thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, please do stay safe and happy crafting. Bye everyone.